Hi YouTube. What a glorious day. I'm just beside myself. As some of you know, I've taken a couple of weeks off and I'm enjoying some time to myself, but also some time to go out and do some motorcycle riding. And I'm just having the time of my life. Today I'm on a dirt road. It's kind of a loop that I can do from where I live. Now I can do many loops. This particular one is fun because it takes me through a nearby town where I can stop at a Starbucks and gas up, and then through another really small town, and then onto a dirt road which actually sort of goes over the mountain range and connects me back home. And on this dirt road there are many arterial, smaller logging roads and other forestry access roads that one can take. And the one that I'm on right now, as you can see, it's actually been deactivated. So what they do is they go through and they trench them so that only really the more extreme sort of four-wheel drive trucks and ATVs and dual sport bikes or dirt bikes can get through. And the nice thing about those arterial roads is there's nobody on them. There's just me. And so it's kind of fun. I didn't bring my GPS this time. I better do it next time, because one thing I like to do is sort of follow these arterial roads. And some of them all show up on the GPS map. I can actually find a way to connect from one arterial road to another arterial road back down to the main dirt road and head on my way home. So I don't have to retrace my steps when I'm on these little back roads. I can also hear a creek somewhere over there. I don't know if it's probably not picking up, but so I'm going to probably have to take a walk through the bush and see if I can find this creek and check that out. It almost sounds like a little bit of a waterfall, so that's probably cool. Nothing too serious today because I'm not having a very serious day. But yesterday when I was making a video, I was thinking about doing a blooper reel. And I'd actually had a candid moment where I was making a video and all of a sudden I got stung by a bee. I don't know if you can see it here, but I got a big welt right here from it. And I was jumping all around like an idiot. And then I realized that the camera was still recording, and I regained my composure and sort of realized how embarrassing that really is. And I thought, well, that's great. That's good for the blooper reel anyway. And I'm going to need to do it soon. I use an old iPhone 4S and then my current iPhone and using the YouTube Capture app to make all my YouTube videos, at least at this point. And whenever I do one that doesn't work out and it's crappy, I'll just sort of leave that recording on there for use in a blooper reel down the road. And I have a lot of outtakes. So both of these phones are getting pretty full. So I'm going to have to do a blooper reel, and you can all have a laugh at my expense. Speaking of at my expense, I did want to respond to a couple of comments that were left on my last upload and discuss my next upload. So I had alluded in that upload to a video that I had recorded that was going to be controversial and might result in sort of a mass unsubscribe campaign. And I realized after reading a couple of comments that they were good-natured about it, but sort of almost called me to task on that suggestion. And then I watched the video because I already have it recorded. I watched it again, and even on that video I talked about I might be setting fire to my channel, etc., with these controversial statements. And so I'm going to re-record that video. I'll leave the content as is, but I'm going to get rid of that stuff about, massive unsubscribe campaigns. I kind of think I know where that comes from, and that's what I wanted to discuss today. So, like I said, the people who were commenting on it, they were pretty good-natured about it. One sort of said, hey, is it going to be safe for my 2-year-old to watch with me? You're not going to be nude in any part of this video. What are you talking about? And another guy said, I already disagree with what you say in your next video. Unsubbed, And I thought that was cute, but it was really good. And that's one, I think, aspect of YouTube, which I think is healthy. If a person is sort of capable and willing to engage in a little introspection, to check yourself once in a while. And I'm at that age now where I guess I'm kind of ripe for it. I'm old enough that I've lived a little. I've got some life experience. I'm old enough that I know that I don't know everything, and I'm really okay with that. In fact, that's exciting to me. But I'm not so old that that changing my ways would be futile and not a lot of time to sort of take advantage of the benefits of that. So in light of that, I kind of think I know where that comes from, and I wanted to discuss that a little bit today. This is going to be a little bit more about me, I guess, than about any of the topics that we normally discuss. I think when I start talking about saying something controversial and offending people or whatever, I think that obviously comes from a sort of deeper self-confidence issue, and it's not something I deal with on a day-to-day basis in my profession. You know, I've got a thriving business. I deal with people all the time. I'm pretty comfortable in my own skin, but that wasn't always the case. And so I think this might be a remnant of old, and sort of, I guess if I say it out loud first and then it happens, it lessens the impact somehow. I'm not sure, but that's something I'm going to stop doing anyway. I don't see any point to it. When I grew, as I grew up, I was in a fairly poor family, and we didn't have a lot of money for clothing. We did shop at thrift stores quite often. You know, the sort of the $2 a bag thrift store, and the bags were bulging. You know, my parents made good use of the $2 a bag specials, and we actually didn't even have running water. We actually had a pump well outside the house, and so it was running water, but it wasn't running water to the degree that you could fill a bathtub. And so we weren't always the cleanest kids either. And so when I started going to school in that environment, I got labeled pretty early in elementary school. And by the time I made it to high school, we were, much better off, the usual indoor plumbing, and could afford decent clothing and whatnot. But all the stigmas of me being a little bit of a dirty rugrat bush kid sort of stuck. And so I was never really in the in crowd. In fact, I was one of the several people in my high school that were in the out class. We were the ones that were ridiculed. And I always felt like a second class citizen. And so even in my early adulthood, I was very, very shy and introverted. I certainly wouldn't have ever been making YouTube videos. And it took a long time for me to get over that. I would say it probably started in my early 30s when I went from the first dealership that I'd ever worked at, where I had started there as an apprentice. And so the same thing applies. My mistakes that I'd made as an apprentice were well known. The mechanics that I worked with all knew my sort of origins as an apprentice, and I was never sort of one of them, even once I'd gotten my journeyman ticket. But when I went to the next dealership, I was an equal, and I spent the first 3 months being very, very quiet and just sort of getting to know people. But once I did, my expertise started to shine, not to be vain, but hey, when you're good, you're good. And I started to become a bit of a leader. And we actually went through a union process, and that sort of fell flat on its face. But through that union process, I ended up getting elected as a shop steward to represent the employees. Most importantly, the guys that I knew directly, the mechanics and the other technical staff. And I guided them through that and really went to bat for them. And at the end of that process, what ended up sort of materializing was myself as a leader and a very popular personality within the dealership. Since that time, of course, I've left. I've gone on my own. I've built a business. And through that whole process, I've come to the point in my life where I actually get along with pretty much everybody. And for whatever reason, I seem to be the guy that people gravitate to. People seem to be interested in what I have to say. I do tend to be knowledgeable in a lot of areas, mostly because I'm interested in stuff. It's not because I'm that much, I'm any more intelligent than anybody. I'm so interested in just everything. I've mentioned in videos prior, I pick up a new hobby every day, and I never get rid of the old hobbies. So my time is, I just don't have enough of it. So in any case, the point of the whole story, I guess, is I'm really comfortable in my own skin today. But that wasn't always the case. And I think this whole notion of me sort of pre-warning everybody how controversial my next video is going to be, because I'm going to say some unpopular things. Well, geez, an atheist that, goes against the grain. What a new phenomenon, right? But I guess in some ways, I am going against the grain of a lot of fellow atheists. But I do have some things to say that I think are important to say. And if I do say something that you disagree with, my hope, of course, is that it causes some conversation. and one and or both of us to reevaluate our positions and maybe see things in a different light. So I'm going to stop with the pre-warnings of doom and gloom for my channel every time I say something that I think might be unpopular. I think I've recognized the root of it, and I think it is just a remnant of old self-esteem issues that I had from when I was much, much younger. It's got no place in my life today, so I'm going to abandon that completely. And if you see me doing it, feel free to post a comment and smack my hand. Now, as I said, I am going to re-record the video that I'd made. I'd like to edit out all that crap, and it's just easier for me to just remake the video. But essentially, it's got to do with the same topic of morality that I've been discussing up to this point, so we'll engage in that topic for a little while. I think it's a worthwhile one. And I'm also going to do my first response video to one of these questions for atheists. I haven't done one yet, and there's one floating around now. I'm sure you're all aware of it. The question of, is your brain a result of intelligent design? So I'm gonna burn up a video on that as well, and we'll see where that takes us. But as for now, I'm gonna go check out that little creek or waterfall. Thanks very much for watching.